think of what you would want from a thriller book, this book has everything and more. Like, I'm not even just saying it, it literally has everything. Guys, it has been one hell of a month, and I don't just mean in terms of reading. Hey guys, welcome back to Francesca's Books. Of course, my name is Francesca, these are my books, and here we talk all things thriller books. I'm also over on TikTok, Instagram, and Goodreads as well if you want to see what I'm reading in real time. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to chat about what I read in May and what I'm wanting to read in June, and spoiler, they are all thriller books, except for Abby Jimenez. Before we dive into the good stuff, I want to give you like a quick life update because I feel like so much has happened in the last 4 weeks that honestly, like, I can't even keep up, never mind you guys. So I started the month by going to Egypt for 10 days, which was absolutely incredible. The weather was amazing. I read so much, and half of these are literally just from that 10-day period. Then I came back and I went to Hay Festival, which is like the world's greatest literature festival basically, and TikTok actually took me. I mean, girl got a brand trip, are you kidding? And then, we're still in the month of May by the way, still within these 4 weeks, my boyfriend and I split up. So, you know, it's been like this. So let me tell you, it has been a roller coaster, and I think my reading's kind of reflected in that. I didn't read as much as I normally would this month, and some of my choices are a bit, you know. So that's enough about me. Let me know if you guys have any major life updates. I feel like I would be kind of like reassured if everyone else is kind of going through it, but I don't think they are, so that's life. So without further ado, May's reads. Nobody knows me like you do. Should I go on X Factor, guys? I think I should go on X Factor. So firstly, to finish off my entire Freedom McFadden backlist binge, I've now read all 19 books, a full wrap-up video coming soon for you guys. I read Brain Damage, which I didn't really like, so I don't know why I have that so much. So Brain Damage follows a dermatologist she isn't alive, but she's in like a rehab facility for like the entirety of the book. And this book was just so like out of character for Freedom McFadden, and I looked back at a later date and realised it was one of her first books, so that does kind of make sense. But like there wasn't really any plot twists. Kind of like what you'd expect to happen throughout the book kind of happens. And for that reason, I could only really give it a 2.5 because I wasn't really surprised. And yeah, I just kind of read it and didn't really feel anything. So it was just like a bang in the middle book. Actually, I did give it 2.5 instead of a 2 because I was quite satisfied with the ending, but like not in like a thriller way, just like in I was happy where the characters ended up way, if that makes sense. Then next up, I read Bad Men by Julie May Cohen, and you see what I'm saying about my book choices? Yeah, okay. So this is actually the American version of this cover, and it is absolutely beautiful. I have since seen the UK version, and I'm like, I don't think I would have picked that up. I'll pop it here so you guys can like compare. But I saw this and I just immediately had to read it, but if I'd have seen this, I wouldn't have read the book. I mean, what does that say about the publishing industry? So this follows a serial unaliver who dates a true crime podcaster. Literally, what could go wrong in that scenario? You tell me, because I think everything, and it did. This was very similar to like How to Kill Your Family, Blood Sugar, that kind of like female feminist rage kind of memoir almost vibes, and it was the best one out of all those that I previously mentioned and other similar books that I have read. I did still only give it a 3, but I think I just don't get on with this kind of like writing style, like this idea. But as I say, it was the best of all of those types. So if you are into that kind of subgenre, you will really like this. I think the main thing for me is I don't actually know what happened in the plot of this book. It was so character heavy that almost really wasn't a plot. And that's not always a bad thing, don't get me wrong, like it's not. Sometimes that really works, but I think just for me personally, it just doesn't. Next up is The Honeymoon by Kate Gray, and I actually did read this on my holiday, and then I was kind of disappointed because like 50 pages into this book, they like return home to London, so only like the first 50 pages of those like abroad vibes that you would probably pick this book up for in the first place. So a couple go on their honeymoon, obviously, and they're having a great time, and then on the last day, like the very last night, there's like an unaliving. So then after that, they return to London, and it's kind of like the aftermath of that. And I think this book's actually quite interesting because it's told like the opposite way round. Like it's told in a different narrative. Like you're told what happens at the end almost, and then kind of getting back to that. It's quite interesting. I mean, I don't think it was my cup of tea still, because also I wanted more like a thriller holiday read, and I think my expectations were just wrong for this book, but it was quite an interesting one. It's a little bit different. So I did not like it. I gave it a 3.5. It was quite good, but I feel like the author was trying to do too much in telling this story in like a different series of events. It almost kind of felt a bit disjointed. I don't know. So next up against the books that like I really did like now. So I read The Trap by Catherine Ryan Howard, and this was actually the first book of hers that I've read. This follows 4 women who seemingly have absolutely nothing in common apart from the way that they were. So I did really like this. I did only give it a 3.5, the same as The Honeymoon, but I did definitely like this one more. It's just hard when there's only a scale of like 1 to 5, like to rank books, but I did like this more, but I do think there was one too many point of views. I felt myself like, when I put this down and like picked it back up again, I was almost lost, and I'm just not sure how I felt about that. I feel like I would have enjoyed this book a lot more if I'd have had like a day to just actually sit down and read it, or even like a couple of days, but I think 'cause I read it over like 5 or 6 days. I was just kind of a bit lost by the end. However, the plot twist was absolutely phenomenal, and you don't often see this type of plot twist being done. So I did really enjoy that, and the book very much did come full circle. So I would recommend this. I just think if you have time to like sit down and read it over a couple of days or a day, you would enjoy it a lot more, is what I'm trying to say. Then next up, I was so lucky to get an advance copy of Riley Sager's new book. Everyone knows me as a Riley Sager girly. I adore the guy. So I got a copy of Middle of the Night and like read it immediately. So this book follows Ethan, who finds himself back at his childhood home 30 years after his childhood best friend went missing. So I don't think the plot of this is too original, but I still thought, yeah, Riley can make this work, like he definitely can. And then I read it and I was kind of like just willing it so hard to be amazing. Like I was trying to make it more amazing than it was, and I kind of finished it and just thought, I don't know, it was good, don't get me wrong, and I still would recommend that you pick it up because this author's writing is just incredibly easy to read. But I just feel like there was like one too many twists. I don't know, coming from me, that's like, yeah, I don't know. And also there was a whole portion of this book that just wasn't really explored. So when you pick it up, you'll be able to identify it, but I can't really tell you in advance, otherwise you'll know going into the book that this area is not really explored. But I just feel like there was so much potential there, and I was kind of let down, and I'm so frustrated to say that I was let down because I love Riley and I hope he never sees this, but just didn't love it. However, those are my grievances with the book. The actual writing style was brilliant. The characters I really liked, and just like the whole atmosphere was brilliant. So I did give it a 4, and as I say, I would recommend it, but just not as my like top choice for Riley Sager at all. Then we all know just how much I love a little palette cleanser in amongst my thrillers. Like monthly, I do tend to read like probably like one romance book or one fantasy book. And this book's pick of the month was Part of Your World by Ali Jimenez. So I read yours truly a couple of months ago, also as my little palette cleanser, and I gave it 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. So I was like, well, maybe it's this author's writing that I like. So I went back and I read Part of Your World, which is the first book in this series, and I was not disappointed. So this follows a guy who's from like a really small town vibe and a woman who's from like the big city type vibe, and they meet by complete coincidence, and it's kind of trying to see if they can be part of each other's worlds. I mean, a very aptly named book, to be honest. This writing was incredible, as were the characters, but I just feel like this small town vibe, I'm just not a fan of it. I don't really know why. It's just like, the characters like, I could never leave this town, like this town needs me. I'm just here like, the world's so big, bro, you know? I just don't really get it. But that doesn't mean that it wasn't a good book. That's like my own personal dealings, you know? So I ended up giving it a 4. Absolutely nothing to do with this author. Absolutely love it. Would wholeheartedly still recommend this book. And I think if you did like that small town kind of vibe, you would give it a 5 star like you just would. It's amazing. And spoiler, I loved it so much so that I've picked up the 3rd book in the series for June's TBR. And finally, my top pick of May, the only book that I gave a 5 star this month, and the only book that even came close to being a 5 star this month. It's number 3 of the year, and it is The Couple at Number 9 by Claire Douglas. If you think of what you would want from a thriller book, this book has everything and more. Like, I'm not even just saying it, it literally has everything. So the concept is actually quite basic. There's nothing like incredible about it. It's about a couple and they move into this house and they find 2 bodies in the garden. So that's the like premise. But then what happens from there? Love it. Absolutely love it. So it's told from 3 points of view, the main one being the female in this couple, and then it's told from her mum's point of view and her grandma's point of view. So that in itself, we're already like in unique territory here. I just loved it. The characters were lifelike. There was an absolute gut punch romance subplot. I mean, I'm sat here like, is this some sort of twisted romance book? And then there was incredible plot twists like throughout. I love this. Highly recommend it. Like, I can't recommend this book enough. Like, it has everything that you could possibly want from a thriller book. So if you take anything from this video, it's to read this. So I had a bit of a mixed month. The Couple at 9 was of course a 5 star, absolutely loved it. But in terms of the other books that I read, the other 6, they were kind of just neither here nor there. So this month in June, I decided I was only gonna read books that you guys have personally recommended to me and that are ranked quite highly on Goodreads, like have like a really high Goodreads rating, because I just can't do another mediocre month. Like, I just can't. Like, my brain's gonna explode. I have too much going on. I need some good reads this month. So I've handpicked 7 books to read in June. I'm not going to deviate from this TBR because I feel like this is where I'm going to get the good stuff. So the first book on this list that I'm going to read in June is Next of Kin by Kia Abdullah, and everybody loves this. Everybody loves this. So I read Those People Next Door by this author and it was just okay. So I was skeptical to give Next of Kin a go, but I'm gonna, because if everybody loves it and says it's her best book, then it's gotta be. So this follows a woman who goes to drop her nephew off at daycare and forgets that he's in the car. Whoopsie. and by the time she realises, like, it's completely too late. So I think it's like the after effects of that. Kia Abdullah is pretty popular as well for like having a courtroom drama element, so I'm quite excited for that as well, because that's like doesn't tend to be in like the other thriller books I read, so I'm excited for that one. Next up is a book that when I went book shopping and did like a book haul, everyone was like, immediately read this one. I literally had comments for none of the others, just this one, and it is An Eye for an Eye by MJ Aldridge. This follows 9 serial unalivers that are released from prison and granted like lifelong anonymity, and I think the concept is that like people aren't really happy about that. Like, why should they be given anonymity, and like there's all these other like ex-prisoners who are out there just trying to like live their lives and get targeted, and then I feel like somebody comes back for almost like revenge on that. You guys know I don't tend to read too much about like the books that I'm going to read, because I kind of like to be surprised, you know? So I know the basic concept, and that is all I know about this, but I do know how highly recommended it's been to me, so I do have very, very high hopes for it. Next up is another book that I've literally seen nothing but 5 stars for, like genuinely. I don't think I've even seen a 4-star review for this book, and it is Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh. So before even reading this book, I can kind of understand why it's going to be rated so highly. So it basically follows 2 women who meet by chance on the Upper West Side, like in a bar, and they like write the perfect crime basically. So this woman's like, I will kill this person you want dead, and then this person's like, and I'll kill this person you want dead, and then no one's ever going to link the 2. I think that's the concept, but I mean, it kind of sounds pretty self-explanatory from the title, but I'm really, really excited to read this. I think since it's been so highly rated, I'm really excited. And also, I quickly checked on Goodreads before I added it to like this month's TBR, and like it's strongly into the 4s, so I mean, yeah. I'm excited. The next up is a book that came out a while ago, but it's one that I just have no idea why I've not got around to, because it's like one of the staples of the thriller genre, and it is The Echo Man by Sam Holland. This follows a serial unaliver who starts copying the crimes of another serial unaliver, and then I think our female main character gets involved when her husband is one of the victims. I think it's a bit of a power story, like she takes it into her own hands, she finds out what's going on, like F the detectives, like they don't even care, and yeah. I don't know though, because I've not read it. But I'm excited because this is a book that I've literally just seen nothing but good reviews for, and especially from like through and through thriller readers, like not people who kind of dabble, like actual hardcore thriller girls, so it's gonna be good. And next up, I was so lucky to get an advance copy of Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley, which I was so excited for. I adored The Paris Apartment by this author, like adored it. It gets so many mixed opinions, but I loved it. I think that plot twist is one of the only ones of its kind that I've read. So when I saw this, I was like, yeah, immediately. So this follows like a really exciting like luxury hotel, manor, glamping situation opening. And it's really exclusive, like you had to like apply to be there. I don't know why, it's only a hotel. And then of course there is a midnight feast, and by the sounds of it, it ends in unaliving, and it's a bit of a locked room situation by the sounds of it. I think Lucy Foley does locked room narratives like really, really well. So she's of course written The Guest List and The Hunting Party, which are kind of a similar concept. So I'm really excited to see where she goes with this one, and if she can put like a different spin on it. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, I actually attended Hay Festival earlier this month, and I was so lucky to meet the incredible Louise Minchin, who is like a journalist and sports author, but she's breaking into the thriller genre. Slay girl! So she is bringing out Isolation Island in September, so this is an advance copy, which she very, very kindly signed for me. She was absolutely incredible, so I'm now of course biased to this author. It was one of those moments as well where she was like as excited to meet me and give me this book as I was to like meet her and be like, I'm so excited. So it was a very humble experience. If you don't know who I'm talking about, she has a little picture on the back. Oh. There you go. So this follows 10 celebrities who are in like a survival reality TV show, and basically the production crew cannot keep them safe for love nor money, and it ends in unaliving, but there's very suspicious circumstances surrounding it. So Louise told me she was actually on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and she was kind of sat there like, what would happen if this went wrong? And I was like, a woman after my own heart. So this is immediately on my TBR, and I cannot wait to let you guys know what I think. And finally, my palette cleanser choice of June is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I'm of course going on holiday again at the end of the month, guys, because I like to run away from my problems, and you all know this by now. So I thought this was the perfect read, so I'm gonna save this for like the last week of June when I'm away. But of course, I love Part of Your World and yours truly so much. This was just like an obvious purchase for me. This is like one of the only books I've actually just bought full price, like RRP, like in Waterstones. Didn't even hesitate, just bought it. So this time we're following Justin and Emma, who believe they are cursed in love. So can't wait to see how that goes, because I mean, it's a romance book, so they're probably not, let's be honest. God, I'm not strong enough for this, guys. I need to go to the gym. So that is my May reads and my June TBR. I'm so excited to get to this month's reads because, as I say, they're so highly recommended. Like, I feel like I can't really go wrong this month, she says. So drop a comment below and let me know which was your favourite read of May, and I will definitely be adding some of those recommendations to my July TBR. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.